This machine is beyond repair. Some things are best left to history. Dr. Harmon's words echoed through the maintenance bay. The head engineer stepped back from the exhibit, platinum pen glinting in his pocket. Behind him, 5 engineers nodded, none noticing the 19-year-old with her mop in the shadows. Amara Taylor's knuckles whitened around the handle as determination flashed in her eyes. She absorbed every technical word while maintaining her cleaning rhythm. 15 years of deterioration is too much, Doctor, Harmon told Museum Director Dr. West, gesturing at the massive, suspended engine. The Taylor system was fundamentally flawed. That's why it failed. The revolutionary aircraft engine dominated the room, titanium exterior contrasting with corroded components. A plaque identified it. Experimental engine X-42, inoperable. The board hoped we could get it running for the American Innovation Exhibition, Dr. West replied, tapping her tablet. It would have been the centerpiece. Some failures should remain failures, Doctor. Harmon wiped the display case, especially dangerous ones. Amara dipped her mop forcefully, sending water across the floor. She bit her lip, holding back words. The engineers remained oblivious. Maintenance staff were invisible. You've had 3 months, Dr. West persisted. No possible approach? Dr. Harmon clicked his pen nervously. My engineers have degrees from MIT and Stanford. We've tried everything. The alloy degradation makes this hopeless. Amara inched closer, attacking a non-existent scuff mark. What do you propose instead? Dr. West asked. Conventional jet turbines from the 1960s, Dr. Harmon suggested. Proven technology. Reliable. Just like that, Amara thought. They'll erase him completely. When they left, Amara continued cleaning until her father Thomas found her. Still here, baby girl? He asked, voice tired. At 53, Thomas carried himself with the dignity of a man who took pride in overlooked work. Coming home? I'll finish up, Amara replied. Few more minutes. Thomas studied her face, recognizing his father's stubborn focus. Listening to them talk about the engine again? They're giving up, Amara's frustration broke through. After barely trying. That's how it is. Some stories don't get happy endings. Grandpa's engine works, Amara insisted. I know it. Your grandfather was brilliant, Thomas said softly. But brilliant doesn't always win. He checked his worn watch. Don't stay late. After her father left, Amara waited until night guard Mr. Gaines made his first round. He'd return in exactly 22 minutes. When his footsteps faded, Amara approached the engine. Her fingers found her grandfather's pocket watch in her pocket. Its weight felt reassuring. The engine loomed before her. Where Dr. Harmon saw failure, Amara saw possibility. She had studied every inch through her grandfather's drawings, rebuilt smaller versions from scraps, committed every component to memory. Ducking under the rope, Amara approached with reverence. She traced the cooling fins and fuel injection path. Her touch was knowing, someone who understood. They don't understand you like I do, she whispered. Her trained eye spotted 3 critical errors. Auxiliary fuel line connected wrong, timing gear misaligned, and most glaringly, they'd rebuilt the injection system to standard specifications instead of her grandfather's modifications. No wonder they couldn't make it work. They were following textbook approaches for conventional engines. Amara snapped photos with her phone. She needed to compare these with her grandfather's schematics. Maybe there was still... A red light blinked on the security camera. Amara retreated behind the cordon, grabbing her mop as the night guard's flashlight swept across the wall. Her heart pounded. Mr. Gaines was early tonight. Everything okay? He called. Just finishing, Mr. Gaines, Amara replied casually. Thought I saw someone near the exhibit, he frowned. Just me and my mop, Amara smiled, lifting it. The guard nodded and continued his rounds. Amara exhaled, unaware that the camera had captured her interaction, her fingers tracing components with expert familiarity. In the security office, the system flagged the activity, sending an alert with a single frame. Amara Taylor touching the priceless artifact with undeniable recognition. When Amara touched the engine, security cameras captured her tracing its components with unusual familiarity, triggering an alert on the night guard's monitor. The next morning, Amara was stocking supplies in the maintenance closet when her father appeared, face tight with worry. "Dr. West wants to see you," Thomas said. "Now." Did she say why? Amara wiped her hands on her uniform. Security footage. 2 words that explained everything. The walk to the director's office felt endless. Inside, Dr. West sat behind her desk while Dr. Harmon stood by the window, arms crossed. A security monitor displayed a freeze frame of Amara touching the engine. "Care to explain this?" Dr. Harmon's voice dripped with accusation. Amara's throat went dry. "I was curious." "Curious?" Dr. Harmon scoffed. "You were handling priceless equipment." Dr. West leaned forward. "Amara, we have strict protocols." "You connected the auxiliary fuel line wrong," Amara blurted. The words escaped before she could stop them. Silence crashed into the room. Dr. Harmon's eyebrows shot up. "Excuse me?" His voice dropped dangerously low. "The timing gear is off by 15 degrees, Amara continued, heart racing. "And you've rebuilt the injection system to factory specs when it needs modified ratios." Dr. Harmon laughed, looking to his colleagues. "Listen to the maintenance girl." A young Indian engineer in the corner, Dr. Patel according to his badge, studied Amara with unexpected interest. "That's quite specific criticism," Dr. West said carefully. She tilted her head. "Taylor? Any relation to William Taylor?" The room temperature seemed to drop 10 degrees. "He was my grandfather," Amara admitted. Dr. West's eyes widened slightly. "The designer of the X-42? "Maintenance staff genetics don't confer engineering knowledge," Dr. Harmon cut in. "This is absurd." Amara's hands balled into fists. "I can prove it works." "With what degree?" Dr. Harmon sneered. "Which engineering program?" "I know his designs," Amara insisted. "I've studied everything." "Enough," Dr. West interrupted. She studied Amara thoughtfully. 48 hours. Prepare a presentation explaining your theory. If you waste our time..." She glanced at Thomas, standing protectively in the doorway. "There will be consequences." Amara nodded, relief and terror battling within her. "Thank you." As she left, Dr. Harmon pulled a junior engineer aside, not quite whispering. "Get me everything on William Taylor's failure, and make sure the original test footage is ready." Amara's steps faltered. She hadn't considered they might have video of the disaster that ruined her grandfather's reputation. As Amara leaves the office, she overhears Dr. Harmon quietly tell the colleague, "Get me everything on William Taylor's failure, and make sure the original test footage is ready." Amara raced home on her bicycle, pedaling hard enough that her lungs burned. The small apartment she shared with her father was just 15 minutes from the museum, but today, each minute felt precious. 48 hours. The countdown had begun. She burst through the door and headed straight for the hall closet, pulling out a stepladder. Standing on the top rung, she reached for a dusty cardboard box labeled "Christmas Decorations," hidden on the highest shelf. Inside, beneath tangled strands of lights, lay 5 leather-bound notebooks with yellowing pages. Amara carried them reverently to the kitchen table. Her grandfather's journals. The real ones, not the sanitized versions he'd submitted to the aerospace companies. These contained his true innovations, the ideas too revolutionary for the conservative aviation establishment of his time. She was deep into the second journal when her father came home. Thomas froze in the doorway, his tired eyes fixing on the notebooks spread across the table. "Amara," he said quietly. "What happened?" She told him everything. The security footage, the confrontation, Dr. West's challenge. Thomas sank into a chair, shoulders slumping. This is exactly what I feared, he sighed, running a hand over his close-cropped gray hair. You need to back down. I can't. Amara pushed the journal toward him. Look at these calculations. Grandpa was right all along. It doesn't matter if he was right. Thomas's voice hardened. The system is built to keep people like us in our place. Did you know, Amara asked suddenly, about what really happened 15 years ago? Thomas was silent for so long that Amara thought he wouldn't answer. Finally, he stood and went to his bedroom. He returned with a metal lockbox, which he opened with a key kept on his key ring. I never showed you these, he said, removing a stack of newspaper clippings. I wanted to protect you. The yellowed clippings told a story different from the official version. Accusations of sabotage, anonymous sources claiming the test was compromised, William Taylor's insistence that someone had tampered with his engine before the demonstration. They buried it all, Thomas said bitterly. Your grandfather died trying to clear his name. Why didn't you fight? Amara's voice was barely a whisper. With what? Against who? Thomas spread his hands. I had a 4-year-old daughter to raise alone after your mother died. I needed the job at the museum. Amara stared at the clippings, her mind racing. So you just watched them erase his legacy? I survived, Thomas said firmly. I made sure you could get an education. That was the fight I chose. And now I'm choosing mine, Amara said, returning to the journals. Thomas watched her for a long moment. They won't play fair. I know. Amara didn't look up from the pages. If you lose, we both lose our jobs. I won't lose. There was a certainty in her voice that made Thomas pause. After a moment of hesitation, he sat down across from her. Then let me help. I cleaned around that engine for 15 years. I might not understand all the theory, but I know every inch of its physical form. Across town, in his elegant home office, Dr. Victor Harmon reviewed personnel files on his tablet. William Taylor's employment record, performance reviews, and termination documents from Midwest Aeronautics. Then the accident investigation, witness statements, insurance claims. Dr. Raj Patel sat uncomfortably in a visitor's chair, watching his mentor's face harden as he read. Speed up our timeline, Dr. Harmon ordered without looking up. I want our solution implemented before this distraction makes her presentation. The replacement parts won't arrive until Thursday, Dr. Patel pointed out. Then fabricate what we need, Dr. Harmon snapped. Use the university lab if necessary. Sir, Dr. Patel hesitated. What if she actually has insight into the original design? Dr. Harmon looked up sharply. The janitor's daughter? With no formal education or training? She knew about the misaligned timing gear, Dr. Patel said carefully. None of us discussed that publicly. Dr. Harmon's pen clicking accelerated. A lucky guess. And the modified injection ratios. Enough! Dr. Harmon cut him off. Whose side are you on, Patel? Dr. Patel straightened in his chair. Engineering side, sir. Always. Good. Dr. Harmon returned to his tablet. Because in 2 days this will be over. The board has already approved my proposal for the conventional engine display. The Taylor engine will be moved to storage where it belongs. The next morning, Amara approached her friend Luis's dormitory at the city university. He answered the door in pajama pants and a faded t-shirt, eyes widening at the sight of her loaded backpack. Amara, it's 7 a.m. on Saturday. I need your help, she said, already pushing past him into the small room. And access to the engineering lab. Luis ran a hand through his sleep-tousled hair. The lab? I can't just... It's about my grandfather's engine, Amara interrupted, pulling components from her backpack. Small metal parts she'd fabricated in their apartment building's maintenance shop. I need to test a scaled model. Luis had been her closest friend since high school, where they'd bonded over shared math classes and outsider status. He was now in his 2nd year of mechanical engineering, the formal education path Amara couldn't afford. Is this about the museum exhibit? Luis asked, suddenly alert. My professor mentioned something about a restoration project failing. It's failing because they don't understand the design, Amara said, spreading her grandfather's drawings on Luis's desk. Look at this. Luis leaned over the schematics, his expression shifting from sleepy annoyance to professional interest. This isn't standard configuration. Exactly. Amara pointed to specific notations. The centrifugal injection creates a vortex that stabilizes the fuel-air mixture, Luis finished, eyes widening. That's brilliant. I have 46 hours to prove it works. Amara met his gaze. Will you help me? 3 hours later, they had smuggled Amara's components into the university's engineering lab. Under the pretext of a weekend project, Luis had signed for a workstation in the back corner, away from the handful of other students. They worked methodically, assembling the quarter-scale model of the central injection system. By mid-afternoon, they were ready for the first test. Luis connected the power supply while Amara made final adjustments to the fuel mixture, water with a tracer dye for this demonstration model. Moment of truth, Luis said, hand hovering over the switch. Amara nodded, and he activated the system. For 3 seconds, the miniature injector hummed perfectly, the blue-dyed water spiraling through the transparent tubes exactly as her grandfather's equations had predicted. Then a high-pitched whine followed by a crack as the main shaft slipped out of alignment. Blue liquid sprayed across their protective goggles. No! Amara slammed her hand on the table. The timing is still off. They worked through dinner, making adjustments, testing and failing. By 10 p.m., Luis was yawning uncontrollably. Maybe we should continue tomorrow, he suggested gently. The presentation is tomorrow afternoon, Amara reminded him, not looking up from her calibrations. This has to work tonight. Amara, Luis's voice softened. Even if you get this working, you're going up against Dr. Harmon. Do you know what he's like at the university? Professors are afraid of him, let alone students. I don't have a choice, Amara said. This is my grandfather's legacy. It's your job too, Luis pointed out. And your dad's. Amara paused, her hands stilling on the components. I know the risks. Just be careful, Luis warned. People like Harmon play by different rules. They have reputations built over decades. They have institutional power. They have fancy degrees and connections, Amara said bitterly. I have the truth. The truth doesn't always win, Luis said quietly. Amara's hand moved unconsciously to her pocket, feeling the weight of her grandfather's pocket watch. She pulled it out, studying its tarnished surface. The watch hadn't run in years. The last time she'd tried to wind it, something inside had felt broken. She frowned, turning the watch over in her hand. The timing mechanism. Wait, she whispered, a new idea forming. What if the timing issue isn't in the gear ratio? What if it's in the pulse sequence? She grabbed a screwdriver and carefully opened the back of the watch, revealing the delicate gears inside. The escapement mechanism caught her attention, the way it regulated the release of energy through controlled, rhythmic movements. Luis, look at this, she said excitedly. What if Grandpa based his fuel injection timing on watchmaking principles? Not continuous flow, but precisely controlled pulses. Luis leaned closer, his fatigue forgotten. That would explain the unusual gear configuration. They worked with renewed energy, modifying their test model based on this insight. Amara carefully measured the ratios between the gears in the pocket watch, transferring those proportions to their injection system. Ready? Luis asked as they completed the adjustments. Amara nodded, holding her breath as he started the system. This time, the injector hummed to life with a different sound, smoother, more harmonious. The blue liquid flowed through the system in perfect, pulsing spirals. The pressure gauge showed optimal readings. 1 minute passed, 2, 3. It's stable, Luis whispered in awe. Completely stable. Amara's eyes filled with tears. He was right. They documented everything, recording video on their phones and taking detailed measurements. By 2 a.m., they had compiled enough data to support Amara's theory. She finally agreed to rest, curling up on Luis's roommate's empty bed while he took the couch. Just before dawn, Amara's phone chimed with a text message. Groggy, she checked the screen, not recognizing the number. The message read, "I worked with your grandfather. What happened wasn't an accident. Be careful who you trust at the museum." Fully awake now, Amara sat up, staring at the cryptic warning. She tried replying, but the message bounced back, sent from a temporary number. Hours before her presentation, Amara receives an anonymous text. "I worked with your grandfather. What happened wasn't an accident. Be careful who you trust at the museum." Amara arrived at the museum 30 minutes early for her presentation, carrying her grandfather's journals and a tablet loaded with test results. She'd expected to meet with Dr. West and perhaps a few engineers in a small conference room. Instead, she found the museum's main lecture hall prepared for an event. Rows of chairs filled with museum staff, board members, and people she didn't recognize. A podium stood at the front, flanked by large display screens. Dr. Harmon was already there, setting up what appeared to be a multimedia presentation. Dr. West approached, her expression carefully neutral. "Quite a turnout, isn't it?" "I thought this would be a small technical meeting," Amara said, unable to hide her surprise. Dr. Harmon felt the subject warranted wider attention, Dr. West explained. "Several board members expressed interest, and we have some press covering our upcoming exhibition." Amara spotted her father at the back of the room, his face tight with worry. Near the front, Luis had somehow gained entry and gave her an encouraging thumbs up. She also noticed Dr. Patel, sitting slightly apart from the other engineers, watching her with curious eyes. "We'll begin in 5 minutes," Dr. West said, checking her watch. "You'll have 15 minutes for your presentation, followed by questions." As Amara organized her materials at the podium, Dr. Harmon approached. "Quite a journey from mopping floors to giving lectures," he remarked, adjusting his silk tie. "Nervous?" "I know what I know," Amara replied simply. Dr. Harmon smiled without warmth. "We all believe we know things until they're properly tested." The lights dimmed, and Dr. West introduced the session, explaining the museum's ongoing efforts to restore the Taylor centrifugal injection engine for the American Innovation Exhibition. "Today we have an unconventional perspective," Dr. West said, choosing her words carefully. "Amara Taylor, who has a family connection to the original designer, has requested this opportunity to present an alternative approach." Amara took a deep breath and stepped to the podium. She had practiced all morning, but facing this unexpectedly large audience made her mouth go dry. "The X-42 engine represents a fundamental departure from conventional design," she began, her voice steady despite her racing heart. Her first slide showed her grandfather's original schematics. "William Taylor, my grandfather, created an injection system that was decades ahead of its time." She walked through the basic principles, explaining how the centrifugal vortex stabilized the fuel mixture in ways traditional injection couldn't achieve. The technical audience seemed to follow, though she noticed several older engineers exchanging skeptical glances. "The key innovation lies in the timing mechanism," Amara continued, showing diagrams from her tests with Luis. "It's based not on continuous flow, but on precisely controlled pulses, similar to a watch escapement." "Miss Taylor," Dr. Harmon interrupted, rising from his seat. "Perhaps I could translate this for our non-technical audience members?" Without waiting for permission, he approached the podium. "What Miss Taylor is suggesting," he said condescendingly, "is that her grandfather somehow developed injection principles that contradicted established engineering practice. That professional engineers with decades of experience have somehow missed the obvious for 15 years. Murmurs rippled through the audience. Amara felt her confidence wavering as Dr. Harmon effectively took control of her presentation. "The conventional approach has failed," she insisted. "I've tested a scale model that proves In a university lab she accessed without authorization, Dr. Harmon interjected. Several board members frowned at this. Amara's frustration mounted. The presentation was slipping away from her, becoming exactly the public humiliation Dr. Harmon had planned. Just as she began to falter, Dr. West spoke up from her seat in the front row. "Could you explain the mathematical basis for your pulse timing theory, Miss Taylor?" she asked. "The equations governing the relationship?" The room quieted. It was a legitimate technical question, one that assumed Amara might actually have technical knowledge worth hearing. Amara seized the opportunity, diving into the equations from her grandfather's journals. As she wrote formulas on the digital whiteboard, her confidence returned. This was the language she understood, regardless of her lack of formal education. Some of the younger engineers leaned forward with interest. Dr. Patel was taking notes, his expression thoughtful. Even a few board members appeared engaged by the elegant mathematics. Dr. Harmon, sensing the shifting mood, moved to his computer and pulled up a new file. "Theory is all well and good," he announced. "But let's remember what happened when this engine was actually tested." The screen filled with grainy footage dated 15 years earlier. A test stand. Engineers in safety gear. The X-42 engine mounted and ready. "Some failures are too dangerous to repeat," Dr. Harmon said solemnly as the video showed the catastrophic explosion that had destroyed William Taylor's career. 2 technicians were thrown backwards. Equipment shattered. Flames erupted. The room fell silent, the dramatic footage achieving exactly the effect Dr. Harmon intended. As the room turns against her, Amara notices something in the test footage no one else has seen. A brief glimpse of someone making an adjustment to the engine minutes before the test. "Wait," Amara said, stepping closer to the screen. "Can you rewind that footage?" Dr. Harmon's smile faltered. "I think we've seen enough." "Please," Amara insisted, looking directly at Dr. West. "There's something important." Dr. West nodded at the AV technician. "Rewind 30 seconds. The footage played again. This time, Amara pointed to a figure at the edge of the frame, partially obscured. "There. Freeze it." The image paused. "That person is adjusting something on the intake manifold. That wasn't part of the test protocol." Murmurs rippled through the audience. The figure was difficult to make out, but they were clearly making an unauthorized adjustment. Dr. Harmon quickly dismissed the observation. "Testing environments are dynamic. Last-minute calibrations are normal." "Not after the final safety check," Amara countered. "And not on the exact component that failed." Before the debate could escalate, Dr. West stepped in. "While this historical footage is interesting, we're here to discuss current restoration efforts." She turned to Amara. "You've presented a theoretical approach. Dr. Harmon's team has been working with the actual hardware for months." Dr. Harmon straightened his jacket. Composure recovered. "Precisely. Theory versus practical experience." "Then let me try," Amara said suddenly. "Give me access to the actual engine." Silence fell over the room. Dr. West looked thoughtful while Dr. Harmon's face darkened. "Absolutely not," he objected. "The artifact is irreplaceable." "It's also non-functional in its current state," Dr. West pointed out. She studied Amara for a long moment. "A controlled test might be informative." After a brief consultation with board members present, Dr. West announced her decision. "Miss Taylor will be permitted limited access to the engine under strict supervision. Dr. Harmon's team will observe but not interfere." "This is highly irregular," Dr. Harmon protested. "So is having a potential solution we haven't explored," Dr. West replied firmly. 2 hours this afternoon, with full documentation." 2 hours later, Amara stood before the X-42 engine in the maintenance bay, now surrounded by observers. Security cameras recorded from multiple angles. Her father watched nervously from the sidelines, while Luis had somehow talked his way in as her assistant. Dr. Harmon and his team of engineers stood nearby, arms crossed. Only Dr. Patel appeared genuinely curious rather than skeptical. "The clock starts now," Dr. West announced. 2 hours, Miss Taylor." Amara approached the engine with reverence despite the pressure. This was her grandfather's masterpiece, and she was about to attempt what no one had achieved in 15 years. She began by examining the work already done by Dr. Harmon's team. As she suspected, they had approached the restoration conventionally, trying to make the revolutionary design conform to standard practices. "I'll need to reconfigure the intake assembly," she told Luis quietly, "and reset the timing mechanism completely." He nodded, handing her tools from the limited set they'd been allowed to bring. As Amara worked, she narrated her process for the record. "The current configuration assumes continuous flow, but this system was designed for pulsed injection." She requested specific replacement parts that Dr. Harmon's team claimed weren't necessary or available. When denied, she improvised using materials from her father's maintenance cart and components she'd brought in her backpack. "That's not regulation equipment," one of the engineers objected. "Neither is this engine," Amara replied without looking up. An hour in, she had reconfigured the intake system and was calibrating the timing gears when Dr. Harmon stepped closer. "You're wasting everyone's time," he said quietly. "Even if your theory had merit, which it doesn't, you can't possibly complete this work in the time allowed." Amara ignored him, focusing on a particularly delicate adjustment. Her fingers, smaller and more nimble than those of the engineers who had previously worked on the engine, reached into tight spaces they had struggled with. "The clearance here is only 3 millimeters, she explained for the record. "The original specifications called for a specialized tool that's no longer manufactured." From her pocket, she produced a thin metal tool she'd fabricated herself based on drawings in her grandfather's journal. Dr. Harmon scoffed. "Homemade tools on a museum artifact?" "Custom tools for a custom engine," Amara corrected. As the second hour began, Amara was making visible progress. The timing mechanism had been completely reset to her grandfather's original specifications. The fuel delivery system was reconfigured to create the centrifugal vortex central to the design. Dr. Patel watched with growing interest, occasionally making notes. When Amara needed a specific wrench that wasn't in her set, he discreetly slid his own across the workbench. "She's actually doing it," someone whispered as Amara connected the final components of the injection system. Dr. Harmon's pen clicking became more rapid, his expression darkening as he watched her methodical progress. When Amara was clearly approaching completion, he suddenly stepped forward. "This has gone far enough," he announced. "I'm observing at least 3 safety protocol violations." "What violations?" Luis challenged. "Unauthorized tools, improper clearance procedures, and—" Dr. Harmon pointed to a small container of lubricant Amara had brought. "Unapproved chemicals near a fuel system." "That's standard museum-grade conservation oil," Thomas spoke up from the sidelines. "We use it on all the exhibits." "Nevertheless," Dr. Harmon turned to Dr. West, "as head engineer, I cannot in good conscience allow this to continue. The potential damage to an irreplaceable artifact—" Dr. West sighed, checking her watch. "You've had nearly the full 2 hours, Miss Taylor, but I'm afraid Dr. Harmon's safety concerns take precedence." "I'm almost finished," Amara protested. "Just 15 more minutes." "I'm sorry," Dr. West said firmly. "We'll need to evaluate what's been done so far before proceeding further." Amara reluctantly stepped back from the engine, frustration evident in every line of her body. As the observers began to disperse, she caught Dr. Patel's eye and discreetly motioned to a small access panel she hadn't been able to reach. "3/4 turn clockwise, then reset the timing belt," she whispered as he passed by. "That's all it needs." Dr. Patel gave no indication he'd heard, but his gaze lingered thoughtfully on the panel she'd indicated. That night, museum security cameras captured Dr. Patel returning to the engine bay alone, carrying a small toolbox and looking nervously over his shoulder. The next morning, Amara arrived for her maintenance shift with leaden feet. Her father had already left early, called in for some special cleaning assignment. She had barely slept, replaying yesterday's interrupted attempt in her mind, calculating whether Dr. Patel might have understood her whispered instructions. As she collected her supplies from the maintenance closet, she noticed something unusual. The museum seemed unusually busy for a Monday morning. Voices echoed from the main exhibition hall, excited and numerous. Amara followed the sound, mop in hand, and froze in the doorway. A crowd had gathered around the X-42 engine exhibit. Museum visitors, staff, and what appeared to be a VIP tour group complete with board members all stood in a semicircle, watching in amazement as the supposedly dead engine hummed with life. The distinctive sound of the centrifugal injection system, a sound Amara had only heard in her small-scale tests, filled the room with its unique harmonic rhythm. Dr. Harmon stood at the center, gesturing animatedly to the impressed onlookers. "Breakthrough came when my team recognized the unique timing signature required," he was saying. "Once we abandoned conventional approaches, the solution became clear." Amara pushed through the crowd, disbelief and fury battling within her. The engine, her grandfather's engine, was running perfectly, exactly as she had predicted it would with her modifications. "This is the true spirit of innovation," Dr. Harmon continued smoothly. "Persistence in the face of—" "You stole my solution," Amara interrupted, her voice carrying across the suddenly quiet room. Dr. Harmon's smile never faltered. "Ah, Miss Taylor, excellent timing. I was just explaining how maintenance insights sometimes inform technical solutions." "You said it couldn't be fixed," Amara challenged, stepping closer. "Yesterday you shut down my attempt, and today you're taking credit?" Museum visitors exchanged uncomfortable glances. A woman with a press badge began taking notes. "Young lady," Dr. Harmon said condescendingly, "my team worked through the night to implement a solution based on exactly what I showed you yesterday," Amara finished. She turned to the crowd. "Ask him to explain how the timing mechanism works." Before Dr. Harmon could respond, Dr. Patel stepped forward from the group of engineers. "I completed the modifications based on Amara Taylor's instructions," he announced. The crowd murmured in surprise. Dr. Patel held up his phone, showing time-stamped photos. "The engine was operational at 3:17 a.m., 2 hours before Dr. Harmon arrived this morning." Dr. Harmon's face flushed. "Patel, you're overstepping. The timing sequence is based on watchmaking principles, not conventional fuel injection," Dr. Patel continued, addressing the crowd directly. "A brilliant insight that came from Miss Taylor, not our team." Dr. West pushed through the crowd, her expression a mixture of confusion and growing suspicion. "Dr. Harmon, you told me your team had the breakthrough last night." "We did," Dr. Harmon insisted, his pen clicking rapidly in his hand. "Patel is part of my team. He simply implemented what I—" "The watchmaking principle wasn't in any of our discussions," Dr. Patel interrupted. "That came directly from Miss Taylor's presentation." Dr. Harmon's composure cracked. "This is absurd. That engine failed 15 years ago because the injection timing was fundamentally flawed. The modified sequence would never work unless—" He stopped abruptly, realizing his mistake. An elderly man stepped forward from the crowd. "How do you know it was the injection timing that was modified before the test? That wasn't in any of the official reports." The room went completely silent. Dr. Harmon's pen clicking stopped. "I read it somewhere," he said stiffly. "No," the elderly man said, moving closer. "You couldn't have. I was the senior technician on that project. The tampering with the injection timing was never documented publicly. Only someone who had access to the engine before the test would know that specific detail." Whispers erupted around the room. Security guards exchanged glances, uncertain how to proceed as the dignified event devolved into an impromptu investigation. As whispers spread through the crowd, security escorts Dr. Harmon to the director's office, while a news crew that was covering the exhibition turns their cameras toward Amara, asking, "How did you solve what the experts couldn't?" "It wasn't about solving what they couldn't," Amara told the reporter, suddenly conscious of the cameras now trained on her rather than the engine. "It was about understanding what my grandfather actually designed, not what they thought he designed." The exhibition hall had transformed into an impromptu press conference. As security led a tight-lipped Dr. Harmon away, Dr. West attempted to maintain order, asking visitors to continue their tour while she addressed the situation. But the story unfolding was too compelling. The janitor's daughter, the sabotaged engine, the years of deception, and most people stayed, watching events unfold with fascinated attention. "Could you explain in simple terms how you fixed it?" a reporter asked Amara. Before she could answer, Dr. West stepped in. "We'll be organizing a proper briefing once we've sorted through today's developments. For now, I'd ask everyone to give us some space." As the crowd reluctantly dispersed, Dr. West gestured for Amara, Thomas, and Dr. Patel to follow her to her office. Once inside, she closed the door and sank into her chair with a heavy sigh. "In 20 years of museum administration, I've never experienced anything like this," she said, massaging her temples. "Dr. Patel, I need to understand exactly what happened, Doctor." Patel straightened his shoulders. "After yesterday's demonstration, I reviewed Miss Taylor's approach independently. The mathematics were sound. I returned last night to implement the final adjustments she hadn't been allowed to complete." "Without authorization," Dr. West noted. "Yes," Dr. Patel admitted without apology. "I believed it was the right thing to do professionally. Engineers are supposed to pursue truth, not protect careers." Dr. West turned to Amara. "And your grandfather's engine? It works exactly as he claimed it would?" "Yes," Amara said simply. "The data will show efficiency improvements of approximately 22% over conventional designs of that era. Exactly what he predicted." Thomas, who had been silently watching the exchange, finally spoke. "What happens now? To Dr. Harmon?" "The board will launch a formal investigation," Dr. West replied. "If what that technician suggested is true, that Dr. Harmon had knowledge of or involvement in the original sabotage, there will be serious consequences." "And the engine?" Amara asked, her primary concern still her grandfather's legacy. "It will certainly be the centerpiece of our American Innovation exhibition," Dr. West said with a tired smile, "with a significantly revised historical narrative." She studied Amara thoughtfully. "You have an extraordinary understanding of aerospace engineering for someone without formal training." "I had an extraordinary teacher," Amara replied, "just not in a classroom." Dr. West nodded. "The museum would like to offer you a position on our technical team. Your hands-on approach would be valuable to our restoration projects." The offer was unexpected, a validation Amara had never anticipated. She glanced at her father, whose eyes shone with pride. "Thank you," Amara said carefully. "But I have a different request." "Oh?" Dr. West raised an eyebrow. "I want formal recognition of my grandfather's innovation. Full credit in the exhibition. And," Amara took a deep breath, "a scholarship program for underprivileged youth interested in engineering. Kids who have the ability but not the opportunity." Dr. West considered this for a moment. "The recognition is already happening. The scholarship would require board approval. But given today's events, I think they'll be receptive to positive publicity." When they left the office, Thomas pulled a worn envelope from his pocket. "I've been saving this for the right moment," he said, handing it to Amara. "Your grandfather wrote it before he died." With trembling fingers, Amara opened the letter. Her grandfather's handwriting, familiar from his journals, filled the page. "To my dear granddaughter, Amara, by the time you read this, I may be gone, but my dreams live on in you. They called my engine impossible, but nothing is impossible for those who see beyond conventional limits. I hope someday the truth will emerge. Until then, keep building, keep questioning, keep believing. The world needs minds that don't accept impossible as an answer. All my love, Grandpa William." Tears blurred Amara's vision. "He knew," she whispered. "He knew I'd understand." "He saw in you what I see," Thomas said, embracing her. "Stubborn brilliance." The following days brought whirlwind changes. The museum placed Dr. Harmon on administrative leave pending investigation. Internal records revealed he had been a junior engineer on a competing project at Midwest Aeronautics 15 years ago, the very project that received funding after William Taylor's disgrace. Dr. Patel and several younger engineers approached Amara, asking her to walk them through her grandfather's design principles and her own problem-solving methods. "We've been too dependent on computer modeling," Dr. Patel admitted during one session. "Your hands-on approach revealed flaws our simulations missed." A video of Amara explaining the engine's principles to a tour group went viral on social media, drawing attention from engineering blogs and educational channels. When a prominent tech magazine requested an interview, the museum's PR department happily arranged it. "What made you believe you could solve something professional engineers couldn't?" the interviewer asked. "I never saw them as more qualified, just differently qualified," Amara explained. "They had degrees. I had my grandfather's journals and 15 years of watching my father maintain that museum, different paths to knowledge." The story caught the attention of a TED Talk organizer who invited Amara to speak about unconventional paths in STEM education. The museum, recognizing the positive publicity, granted her time off to prepare and present. 2 months later, the X-42 engine became the centerpiece of a reimagined exhibition titled Innovation and Perseverance. The display featured not only the now operational engine, but the full story of its creation, the sabotage, and its eventual vindication through William Taylor's granddaughter. A small plaque beneath the engine read, "The Taylor Centrifugal Injection System, X-42, designed by William Taylor, 1945 to 2010, restored by Amara Taylor." The difference between impossible and revolutionary is often just a matter of perspective. The board unanimously approved the William Taylor Scholarship for underprivileged youth in engineering, with Amara serving on the selection committee. The first recipient would be announced that fall. Thomas, watching his daughter lead a technical discussion with visiting engineering students, reflected on how much had changed. No longer the invisible maintenance man, he now gave specialized tours of his father's exhibition, explaining both the technology and the human story behind it. "Your father would be so proud," he told Amara one evening as they closed up the exhibition. "He would be proud of both of us," she replied. "You kept his legacy safe until the world was ready for it." In a national television interview the following week, the host asked Amara about her future plans. "I've been studying my grandfather's more ambitious designs," she revealed. "Projects he never got to build. One in particular, a variable geometry propulsion system, could revolutionize aerospace engineering if we can make it work." "And can you?" the host asked. Amara smiled, fingering the now-repaired pocket watch that never left her person. "Nothing is impossible for those who see beyond conventional limits." Yet when asked in a national interview what she plans to do next, Amara reveals she's been reverse engineering her grandfather's more ambitious designs that were never built, projects that could revolutionize aerospace engineering. 1 year later, the museum's grand hall bustled with activity. Colorful displays lined the walls, each featuring innovative projects created by young minds. A large banner stretched across the entrance, First Annual William Taylor Engineering Fair. Amara, dressed in a professional blazer rather than a maintenance uniform, surveyed the scene with quiet satisfaction. Beside her, Dr. West nodded approvingly. 37 participants from 16 schools, Dr. West noted. "Not bad for a first year." "Quality over quantity," Amara replied, watching a group of middle school students explain their solar-powered water filtration system to an attentive crowd. The past year had transformed both the museum and Amara's life. The William Taylor Foundation, established with donations that poured in after the story went public, now operated from a small office within the museum. Amara served as its director, dividing her time between foundation work and consulting on technical restorations. Dr. Harmon had resigned following the investigation, which confirmed his involvement in the original sabotage. Several aerospace companies had reached out to Amara about implementing her grandfather's principles in new designs, and a university engineering department had offered her a position despite her lack of formal credentials. She had declined both, preferring to focus on opening doors for others like herself. "It's time for the awards," Dr. West reminded her. "The board members are ready." Amara nodded and made her way to the podium. The crowd quieted as she prepared to announce the winners of the engineering scholarships. 10 would receive partial funding for their projects, but 1 would receive a full 4-year scholarship to the engineering program of their choice. "Before I announce our top recipient," Amara began, "I want to thank everyone who made this possible. A year ago, this museum housed an engine considered impossible to fix, and a story many wanted to forget." She gestured to where the X-42 now held pride of place, its polished components moving in perfect harmony behind clear protective panels. Today, that engine runs 20 hours a day, demonstrating principles that were ahead of their time. But more importantly, it represents a different way of thinking about who can contribute to science and engineering. From the back of the hall, Thomas watched his daughter with undisguised pride. No longer merely the janitor, he now led a special maintenance team responsible for the museum's operational exhibits. His uniform bore a new patch: Technical Preservation Specialist. "Our top scholarship recipient," Amara continued, "created a project that embodies the spirit of William Taylor's work. Innovation born from necessity, designed to help others." She opened the envelope, though she already knew the winner. She'd advocated strongly for this particular project during the selection committee's deliberations. Maya Johnson, for her simplified emergency ventilator system. A slender 14-year-old girl approached the podium, her eyes wide with disbelief. The audience applauded enthusiastically as Amara presented her with the scholarship certificate. "Would you like to say a few words?" Amara asked, stepping aside. Maya nodded, nervously adjusting her glasses. "Thank you so much for this opportunity. My mom works as a hospital custodian, and during the pandemic she told me about the ventilator shortages. I started thinking about how to make them simpler and cheaper." She glanced at a woman in a hospital uniform standing at the back of the room who wiped away tears of joy. "I never thought someone would take my ideas seriously," Maya continued. "Then I read about Amara Taylor and the engine everyone said couldn't be fixed. It made me believe that maybe my ideas mattered too." The simplicity and sincerity of her words touched everyone in the room. After the ceremony concluded and the crowds began to disperse, Amara noticed Maya studying the X-42 engine display with intense focus. "You know," Amara said, approaching the girl, "my grandfather always said the best engineers are the ones who see problems differently because they've lived differently." Maya smiled shyly. "My science teacher said I think too differently, that I should follow the textbook more." "Some textbooks need rewriting," Amara replied with a wink. Later that evening, after the last visitors had left, Amara drove to the small cemetery on the outskirts of town. The setting sun cast long shadows across the grounds as she made her way to a simple headstone. William Taylor, 1945-2010. Beyond conventional limits. She knelt beside the grave and placed her grandfather's pocket watch, now fully restored and ticking perfectly, on the headstone. "We fixed it, Grandpa," she whispered. Her words meant for more than just the watch. "Your engine runs perfectly. People understand what you created now, and kids like me, kids who learn differently, they're getting their chance." A gentle breeze rustled the leaves of a nearby oak tree, almost like a response. As Amara walked back to her car, her phone buzzed with a message from Dr. Patel. "You need to come to the lab immediately. Your grandfather's theoretical fuel system actually works." She smiled, tucking the phone away. The journey wasn't over. It was just beginning. If this story resonated with you, hit the subscribe button on Beat Stories for more powerful narratives that challenge our assumptions. Drop a comment sharing a time when you or someone you know was underestimated but proved everyone wrong. New stories every week that will move, inspire, and make you see the world differently. Like and share to help these stories reach those who need to hear them most.
This story shouldn't be the exception. It should be the last time it ever happens. At Beat Stories, we turn one moment of injustice into a call for change. Subscribe to help make that call louder and longer lasting.